Alright, guys, we are starting back again, and we know we have everything coded that needs to be coded. So let's give it a quick play just to make sure. So we've got our solid wall there. We've got our depth. We might need to fix the spacing on the ladder. That's sending us back. Ooh, there we go. And I wonder if this is still an issue. It is still an issue. So maybe we can fix that. Woohoo! So yeah, everything's coded that we need to code for the current time. And since our code is working, we're feeling good enough to upload our images for our graphics. And I do want to cover two bases, or well, one base is resizing. So let's make some new images here. We're just going to paint. Let's go ahead and make it black. And we're going to make another new object. And paint for yellow. Doesn't matter what color, truly. Just so long as you know you have two separate boxes here. So this is going to be the player. So what are we going to do? We're going to say 37 by 74. Now, if we were resizing like so, oh, and I almost had that perfect. Oh well, 3477, good enough. So 3477, and then instead of resizing it by click and drag, we're going to resize it this way, 34 by 77. Now, for all intensive purposes, these two seem to be the same, but they are not. And let's give a quick example on why. So the one we stretched improperly on the game screen by dragging. We're going to say person walk and do that. So now what happens? Well, we resized it improperly. So now it came in all distorted, all at the wrong size. Although, because we did plan our images properly in photo editing, we can drag it here and it looks pretty much the way it should. And now, if we upload it to the one we sized properly using this tool, pick one again, and boom, it comes through perfect. Well, maybe a little bit tall, but that's just because of the actual image size that I have created. So that is just one good example. And yeah, if we shrink it down, it will have to be thinner, which could actually be good for our ladder wall situation. But remember, if we shrink it down, we're not doing it that way. Alright, delete, delete. Why is this sprite unnamed? What is that sprite? Okay, so that must be nothing. Yeah, because I still got my ladder walls. Okay. So now let's go ahead and get into updating the graphics and see what it looks like whenever we have resized all these improperly. Because remember, we were dragging the sizing for the floors. Let's go ahead and start with the floors actually. We're going to go into here and say upload. And we're going to say main floor small. So basically what I did is I did this, only I made it a lot smaller in length. So boom, it has broken everything. And how are we going to fix this? Well, because we did plan our images out for the right size, we can just click and drag and it will basically make itself look a little bit better. And it's not huge, so we're not too worried about detail. And before we actually fully get into that, so what you want to do when you plan for image sizes is say this 304 by 36. Go ahead, go into your photo editor, whichever one you have. Make a new one for 304, and was it 26? 36. Whoops. Well, let's just make another one. There we go. And then we can edit the image here. Now the only issue is let's get back to a normal thing. I don't want jitter. Okay, so as you can see here, the smaller image we have to work with, the more it's going to be pixelated whenever we draw. As you can see the black line here, it's getting real bad with pixelation. So if you want to do an image that's 10 times the size, or 3 times the size, we're just going to say 10 times to make it easy. Your same size line is going to be so much smoother. And then let's go ahead and take this, Control All, or actually no, let me move this down so I can see. So we would take this, bigger one, well, it should have just let us drag into it. But let's just do Control Copy, Control Paste, and we're going to move it to a new layer. So now that we know that this is the image size that we would need, we can shrink this down as needed. And then when we upload this one, the pixelation should not be as bad. And although you see it did do something there, it's because I went 10 times the size. When I stretched it down, it is trying to push all that white against that black. So that's why it kind of made it gray. But less on that. Alright, let us get back into here and start uploading our images. And I'll go step by step with you to show you how to resize the ones that we have resized improperly. So I'm actually going to say main floor small again. And just tidy it up a little bit. And remember, we're going to have to fix this one later because it did have a specific size and location based on the bottom moving. And that may be off now. Oh, and just so you know, resizing this way, I'm only doing it that way because we have already resized wrong. If you're making a new one, so what we would say is we want our image to be this size, but we've already stretched it. Uh, and yeah, since we stretched this, it'll work. So say we want this to be 284 by 30. We're going to go into here, say 284 by 30. And then it's basically going to do that. So let's make this one 284 by 30. And now both instances match the size. So 284.30 there, and 284.30 there. And you can fix this. So now if you have a 284 by 30 image, you can load it in and it won't stretch. Alright, and here we're getting into a little bit of a problem. I didn't want this one to be so wide of a stretch on the grass, but it'll be alright. Doesn't have to be a beautiful game for us on this one. And we'll estimate that that was there. Oops, trying to hit enter. Well, let's go ahead and do this. Match the height, and then drag it over to this. And I think I got lucky on the height on this one. There we go. Now let's do our ladders. Oh, and let's see if we can cheat the sizing. Oh, I thought I fixed those already. Unless I accidentally controlled Z and messed it up. Oh, that's right. Before I get that, I want to get the values. So the size, 50 by, we're going to mark that as 600. And control copy. And now 50 by 600. I meant to say 600. And we'll say upload the ladder. Oh, I need the ladder, the regular ladder. And 50 by 600. Actually, I think we need to resize the inside one first. 50 by 600. Oh, and actually, let me look at this. So as you can see, I planned for 3 times the size, so my graphics could be a little bit better. And 50 by 600. Now that one is sized properly and ready to update a new image at this size, and it will not come in stretched. We're not going to go about all that detail for all of them. That was just one quick example. Mm, no, we don't need to move it down. Let's just shrink it because our guy might come in a little bit taller. Alright. And so the rest of these I'm not going to be too particular on because I know I'm not actually going to, oops, I know I'm not actually going to be updating the graphics again, so I do not have to be too particular about size. That'll be good. So the barriers are going to stay the same. The moving thing here is going to stay the same. We're going to change the door. Make sure it's visible in editor. And this one is door open and door locked. So let's go to door open. Oops. Did not mean to try to save there. Door open. And if you need to, just pull it to the side. Get it out of the way. Make sure not to rotate it. And we're going for door closed. And yeah, all that different resizing is messing things up. So we're just going to give it a good old guesstimate and make it fit and make it work. So this one we've got spikes. I keep trying to hit enter. There we go, that'll be good enough. Alright, and so far, oh, we need the key. So far we've gotten everything that you guys have got, and now we are on to new stuff that has not been created on screen yet. Once we get this guy fixed. Oh, and our person. This is going to be the tricky one depending on how you do things. If you want to use multiple animations, you need to make sure you start specifically with what you want. So let's look at our person walk. And I have an animation of the person walking and an animation of the person walking small in order to fit our box down here. So let us take number one. And the first one that you want to upload is your idle animation that's going to spawn into the game. Or you'll have to change properties over here on the side later. So let's go ahead and name this one standing. Set the speed to 0. And we're just going to duplicate that frame. And then up here you can flip it. Make sure you just click the button itself. Because if you were to apply to animation, it would flip everything. So we got one guy facing right, one guy facing left, and you do want to know, remember which one is which. if you have multiple images with multiple different settings that you're going to be changing. So we could say a tag for this one is standing right. Make this tag standing and make sure you spell it correctly and in a way that you would be able to pull it out of the back of your head later. Standing right, yeah, okay. So now we're going to right click here, do an animation, and we are going to upload all of our animations for the walk animation, which for me is 9 images. You could have 3, 4, 6, 12, it doesn't matter. So now that we've done that, we can rename this one to walk right. We are going to leave the speed at 5, and we do actually want this one to loop. So instead of making another new animation, let's call it easy button and duplicate. We're going to name this one walk left. And 5 and looping is still selected. And we're going to say flip the entire animation. So now our guy is walking left, he's walking right, and he's standing still right or left. And just take one quick look to make sure my settings are correct, my names are correct. And boom. As you see, for his image, I planned him to be the same size as that box. Uh, I think I got lucky that the box was sized right, or I did happen to fix that off screen, I'm not sure. But either way, this will be plenty good for us. Maybe slightly bigger, but it'll be fine. Oh, and we do need to update these. So we want no more barriers on that one. Came in super tiny. And no moving sides. I have this habit of hitting enter a lot, so I'm sorry about that. And actually, let's go ahead and keep that close to there. So now everything's been changed for graphics. Let's make sure everything is still working. And because our guy is smaller, seems like our jump looks so much bigger. Can we jump the pit? It didn't even want to register my jump right after the ladder. Okay, so we may or may not be able to jump that. But basically, oh, and we would actually have to make a new image for this one if you want the ladder to look exactly the same. Because remember, I did not upload the ladder small that I had selected over there. So yeah, everything seems to be running great, except for we've lost our door. And now my screen is bugging. Give me just a moment, guys. There we go. So let's go ahead and put our door down here. And yes, we will be resizing improperly. So 72 by 168. I'm going to just call it that. So 72 by 168. And this image is actually bigger because the size of the door that's above and below the bottom of the frame is extra height. So that should cause issues with height comparison. Yep. So we're just going to do this, drag it there, and do our best to make it match. There we go. And for all intensive purposes, oh, we should drag it unevenly, I guess. And for all intensive purposes, we do not want this to be on the layer. We do not want to change the visibility because if this is slightly overlapping to the left, it could send our player to win even though this door is showing. So let's just move this out here on the side to where no one can see it. And we'll do the easy button. Alright, so it's working properly. And now we need to update the graphics that I have made without you. So you'll want to make a square for 3 buttons here, a square for 2 buttons here, and square for 3 buttons here, but they can be drag and drop copy instances of the 3 here. So you make your first button, control drag and drop, second button, control drag and drop. These two are their own different images. And I'm also going to be making saws up here in order to get a new piece of tutorial out there for you, which would be timelines. So let me go ahead and finish uploading those. Oh, and since we don't have to do anything special with resizing, I'm just going to pause this and save you guys some time. Alright guys, we've got everything in here, and I've got it set up to where I can show you a few different things with these new images. So, I myself am not going to worry about the ground. We can just make sure it's overlapping this. And if you want to drag it up here, that'll be fine. If you're worried about the distortion, just leave it as is. And let's just put it there and say. And now it's above our buttons. So Z order send the bottom, and we can see everything again. And I left this one this way because I wanted you to see what size it came in at. Because that may come into issues later with sizing, especially if you resize the wrong way like I am here. Well, let's just try to make this all nice and pretty. There we go. Now they're the same height, at least. And remember, like I said, with these 3 new images, you can just drag over and copy. Make sure you don't accidentally rotate. And there we are. So we just dragged and dropped those copies. Let me go ahead and select them all again. So they can be just about the same distance from the wall. And we have our saws up here. We need to send this to bottom. And send that to bottom. And this was a drag and drop copy just like the buttons. So now there's one big point I want to talk about: backgrounds. If you want your background to match and you don't want to do the math for the positioning for the origin, just go into here, set your origin to 0, 0. That puts it all the way top left. Now your position can be 0, 0. There we go. And you are good to go. And since it's over top of everything, Z order, send the bottom. And now we get to talk about layers. We've got all this set up. It is not absolutely necessary, but it can make things work a little bit smoother, look a little bit cleaner, and also it'll be easier to find your stuff. So let's go ahead and make some layers. First key thing is do not add a layer below 0, because if you do, well, let's just go ahead and give a visual example. So if we added this layer below there, and we put that on layer 1, layer 0 has a background color of this color. So anything underneath that will not show. You need to make sure it's above layer 0. But actually, we're going to keep this one on layer 0. And since we've been changing things, we're going to set the order to bottom. And because it's the background, we can come in the editor down here and lock it. So now when I'm trying to select my ladder, I'm not accidentally selecting my sky. So we're going to rename layer 0 as BG. Layer 1, we can name buttons. And then we're going to make this one floors, ladders. And let's make one more for collects and others. Basically anything else. So now that we've done that, let's go ahead and select our ladders, our floor. Need to get closer to make sure I don't miss. Layer, floors and ladders. As we see, I missed some. And you see here, these ladder walls that we made are becoming an issue with being visible. That will be fixed with this. Floors and ladders. And so actually let's do buttons now. We'll just put all of these buttons into one layer. Buttons. Oh, and this can be part of floor. So now we need to select these. And the reason I didn't select this with this one selected, it makes it a little bit difficult because it wants to try and rotate. And I should have done, yep, because it just messed me up. Oh, good, we got it. There we go. And we're going to put that on select and others. Hide that to make sure we've got it everything. This we can put to floors and ladders. Don't forget these guys. We have floors and ladders. We'll make a new one at the top because we want our player to be on top of everything. So player, and player. So now let's go through here and find out what we have. We have our ladder walls. So remember how I said don't add one below the 0 layer? We're going to add one below the 0 layer, and it named it 0 because that's what it is. So ladder wall, we do not want to see this visual at all. And since everything's turned off, it's not like these are going to be selected, which is why we were hiding them. And ladder wall. And as you can see, the glitchy lines on our screen are now gone. So with that being said, turn them back on, and your game should look nice and proper. And now that we have gotten this far, we're going to call this one a short episode because not everyone is going to want to update graphics to the game they're following along with me on. And also, they may not want to update graphics for their game at all. They're just going to say, I'm going to upload it and call it done. So there's no need to watch this one if you do not plan on doing updates.